Good morning, and welcome to Caretaker's Corner, where we discuss everything that has to do with taking care of our elderly disabled parents, our disabled spouses, and our adult disabled children. My name is CJ, and I am your guide on this journey. And today we will be discussing the final step in the grieving process, which is acceptance. Now, we've covered the first four steps, which was denial, anger, bargaining, and depression, and now we're finally to acceptance. And acceptance is just simply coming to terms and finding a way forward through your grieving. Now, we've had a lot of, if you're in the grieving process, then you've already hopefully gone through all of these and are going into acceptance, which is kind of the point where we're like, this has happened, and I can now move forward with it. I understand all my emotions with it. I've sought help, and I have worked through, obviously, the other stages, the grieving, the denial, the bargaining, and I've come to a point where I am at peace with the situation. On this channel specifically, when we talk about the grieving process, we're not necessarily talking about death. We are also, that is part of the grieving process, but we're talking about massive life changes. With caretaking, you can get diagnoses that totally change your life. With elderly parents, it's simply the fact that they're in the aging process, moving towards the end of life cycle. And this is all different aspects of where grieving comes into our lives. And you have to work through it. Case in point, if any of you, for all of you who are my regular followers, you know that in my household, we recently had a major trauma take place, and our beautiful little boy, for some reason, attacked Barbara viciously. And so we kind of have a double grieving process going on right now, because we are grieving for the loss of Prince, who unfortunately had to be euthanized. But we're also grieving for the loss for Barbara, who was already disabled, but now she has all these other issues going on with her eye and with her scalp. She'll, when she goes out in public, for her own comfort, she'll probably always have to wear a hat from now on. Not that big of a change, because we already wear hats, but as you know, I've got hundreds of hats if you watch this channel enough. And then but she's having to wear eye patches a lot, and so this is stuff that we're having to deal with in our grieving. We're way past the acceptance stage on her trigeminal neuralgia, and how far it's come. And we've made all of those changes in our lives already and come to the acceptance change on that. But now we're starting the grieving process anew with this, and also having to deal with, because of the viciousness of the attack, there's a lot of trauma that's going on. Not so much for her, apparently, but definitely for me. And the other folks in the house. I was right there when it happened, but everybody was a part of getting her to the hospital and keeping everything together while the ambulance got here and everything. And we've all been a process of involved in the healing process. So you can never know. A grieving is something that you may end up going through a lot in your life. And you could end up going through the grieving process, the different stages of it, several times through one round. Say for like the in instance of a death, you could end up thinking that you're in step 4, almost to step 5, and then you end up back in step 2. You really could. Let me actually tell you what the steps are. So you could think that you're actually, in the bargaining process, going into the depression process, which sounds bad, but it helps you to move on into the acceptance process, then you end up back in denial. And it is a continual moving forward thing. One step forward, 2 steps back sometimes is the way it works. But the idea is hopefully we'll get where we're all moving forward into the acceptance process. And all of these stages, like I said before, could take a matter of days, or it could take a matter of weeks, or even a matter of months to get through. And of course, with the acceptance process being we're stepping into this and moving on. Now, the thing about this acceptance process is that, I'm sorry, I lost my place in my notes, so please forgive me. We're moving on. We're not forgetting what we've gone through. We're not forgetting about the diagnoses. We're not forgetting about our loved ones or our pet. But we are to the point where we can fully accept their memories. We can fully accept how things used to be, and we can now make plans and make those changes for the future. So, for instance, when Barbara got her initial diagnosis, it was a big kick in the gut for her because she had always been very active and took care of her whole family. And so she had to accept and go through the grieving process of the fact that she wasn't going to be able to do that. And instead of being the one to take care of the family members were going to have to take care of her. And that took her a lot of time in grieving. I guess if you had to say we had that would have been where we had the most complications in our relationship. We've had a pretty smooth relationship, but it would have been the hardest during that time. Because she was going through denial and anger and all of that. And while she did not realize it, but I was the one that dealt with the brunt of it. And she's like, we had a lot of issues during that time. She's like, well, I need this done and this, I need all these things done and I can't do it. So you have to do it for me. And I was already working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week at the time, and then taking care of her and everything else. And there came a time when we had to sit down and go, I am only capable of doing so much, and you are only capable of doing so much. So we have to start making plans to weed out some of the things that we both can't do. And it was, like I said, it was a process of going through the grieving process and then making plans for the future and how we were going to move forward. And Barbara had a lot of small businesses that her family had been a part of that we eventually had to phase out because I was not capable of doing all of that myself, and she was no longer capable of doing most of it or any of it actually. So it broke her heart, and then she had to start the grieving process for that. As you can see, it can build on itself. There's a lot of things where you're like, oh, well, that's not really a grieving process. That's just, you need to get over it. But if it's something you've done all of your life, your family raised you in these businesses, then you had these businesses. When it's something that's that much a part of your life, you go through a grieving process with it. Now, like I said, we have gone through all those grieving processes, and now we have a whole new set to start. But we now have all these tools where I've been doing all this, the research for these videos, that we now know how to safely, properly handle our grief and go through these processes and to be able to seek the help we need. Now, Barbara and I are planning on both seeking counseling because of the trauma from this particular point in our life, the attack, and the fact that we just don't understand why. Also, with the acceptance process comes acknowledgement. You have to acknowledge where you've gone through this journey, and you have to acknowledge your feelings and be able to understand that, hey, I am at that point where I can start making the plan to go forward. I can start coming up with the steps I need to follow, or the plans for my life, or how I'm moving on from here. In the case of with a lot of caretaking and disabled, you have to start making the plans for, what do I need to do for my living arrangements? What do I need to do for getting help in the home to help me with the caretaking duties? Will I need help with the caretaking duties? It's a big step, but once you get to that acceptance stage, your life will get so much smoother, especially when we're discussing caretaking. But you got to remember here, now here's what caretakers get, that catch-22, because, okay, so we've accepted it, and we're ready to start making the plans, we're ready to start reorganizing the house, we're ready to start reorganizing our schedule. Our loved one still has to be going through these processes, and we may not be in the same step. And so, you got to understand that you may have to make all these choices right now, and then the person, your loved one that you're taking care of, may have to catch up with you. Unfortunately, that was the situation with Barb and I at one point. And now we both have a very happy life. We love each other. We're very happy in all of our decisions. Sometimes there's a little frustration, but that's because we're humans. But we are at a much better point. But I accepted the situation and started, doing the organizing and making the plans and all that much earlier than she did. And, but there are some areas where she starts to get there before I do. So eventually, you and your loved one will be on the same page. Unless, of course, we're discussing a disabled child, in which case, growing up disabled, they probably won't have the same grieving process that you do as a parent. And ideally, you will go through the grieving process more than likely in a way that they do not understand or realize what's going on. So you have to be able to remember that, that they're not going to be going through a grieving process. This is their life as they've always known it. If they're born with it. Now, if they're not, then they do have to go through the grieving process, in which case you also have a young person going through a grieving process while also dealing with being a young person and all of the hormones and just regular stuff they go through at that age. And that is going to be super extra difficult. So, once again, the one thing I always say, seek counseling. Even in the acceptance stage, hopefully at this point you've already sought counseling if you needed it. You've sought support groups, whether that's online support groups or in-person support groups through religious organizations, counseling through religious organizations or through medical or through online communities. But keep that up. Keep that going. Even in the acceptance stage, people tend to go, oh, I'm cured, I'm better, I don't need it. And I feel, for the most part, counseling is one of those things, especially support. Maybe not so much counseling, but definitely the support groups are something you probably want to keep up throughout the rest of your life, because you always need support. Support is an important thing in life. And So you're going to want to keep that up even as you've completed the process. Once again, I suggest journaling. I'm a big person about writing notes and journaling. I got, even though I have a phone with me with the notes section and remembering on it and all that, and actually your phone now, or mine does anyway, it now has a really good journaling program. I still have a notebook that I keep on me whenever I leave the house, and a pen always. So like all my shirts, I always wear a button up over my t-shirt, and it always has a pocket so I can have my notebook and my pen with me at all times. Because if I don't write something down, or if I don't record it in my phone, I will forget it 2 seconds down the road. And it's like, oh, I have a really great idea, better write it down. This would really help. Or, hey, I need to have somebody look up and see if we can find this, if a product even exists to make things easier on Barbara. And if I don't write it down, I'll forget it, and it could be months before I remember to look something up. So, once again, I think the journaling is a great idea. Keep a notebook on you and pad on you, because once you hit the acceptance stage and you start looking around going, okay, what do I need to do to make the house easier for my loved one? So like when my best buddy Melissa, who we all share a house with, when she got her diagnosis, we had to look at things that, okay, they had to be up higher so that she didn't have to bend over so much. And so we were looking at, we are continually finding things that we need to raise up higher so that it's easier for her to access. These are things that, as you move on into the acceptance stage, you're going to be able to realize you need to check out. And it's just part of that caretaking journey, where now that you're into the accepting stage, truly your caretaking journey begins, because this is where you start making those changes and making the adjustments to your schedule and to your house and to your organization and to your time management, to truly be able to make your life and the life of your loved one better and more convenient. I hope this video has helped. A quick update on Barbara. She's doing much better. We got rid of one doctor this week. The eye surgeon was like, we're cool, we'll see her back in 3 months to check on the pressure in her eye. We still have to go see the plastic surgeon every 2 weeks. And she'll still have to have a lot of surgery still coming up, but we'll keep you updated, and hopefully I can bank a bunch of videos so we don't have such a long time in between videos again. But I thank you all for being patient, and for your prayers and your thoughts, and all the good vibes you've sent our way. They're really paying off and helping. She's doing wonderful. So if you liked this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any comments, please put them in the comments section. I try to get back with the comments whenever or as soon as possible. Obviously, these last couple of weeks have been, or last 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. It's been, yeah, actually, we're going into 4 weeks. It's been a crazy month, folks. I thank you for sticking with me and for staying safe. So thank you very much, and I will see you next week.